Morning, afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to speak. I got to tell you, I've never had less pressure at a hearing after serving over a decade running sixth largest corrections system in the country. Usually I'm on the hot seat like Director Peters was, and I really want to commend her for coming in here 2 months in, trying to absorb all this information and get through a hearing like this. Really want to commend her, and I'm excited that the Biden administration chose to go outside. In my current existence, I have a national corrections criminal justice consulting firm, as well as an associated foundation, a nonprofit focused on providing opportunities for kids living in poverty to get out of poverty. And in that work, I spend a lot of time around the country. And let me just provide some context for this group. There's a national corrections staffing crisis. The crisis is profound. It started before COVID. COVID exacerbated it, and it's at a crisis level, and the response is slow to it. So much of what you hear, much of what you see, many of the issues that we've seen nationally in corrections over the last 2 years go back to staff. The reality is correction staffing is supply and demand. And the supply is down and demand is up. There's not a context in the world that when supply is down and demand is up, you don't have problems. Problems in this context, unfortunately, result in the loss of life. And that's what's at stake. Oversight is an absolute no-brainer for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. To give some more context and history, as I was the young guy the first time I came down here under the Obama administration as part of the Colson Task Force, looking at Bureau of Prisons. And so for nearly a decade, been involved in providing advisement to various attorneys general about Bureau of Prisons, and working with Senator Durbin and many others around the First Step Act. And the consistent thing is that no one is satisfied with how the Bureau of Prisons operates. And in a very unique setting, the issue is not a partisan issue. As a matter of fact, it's apolitical. And it's actually acameral, because I don't think any chamber is happy with how BOP is existing. Clearly, bringing a reformer like Colette Peters in, you're looking for a change. The reality is she doesn't have the tools or the levers to force change. Change in big bureaucracies, the arc of big bureaucracies go towards the status quo. I mean, you're sitting here asking for basic information, the augmentation, for instance, taking people who aren't supposed to be correctional officers, but the part that's missing in augmentation is doing other important, necessary things like nursing, like psychology, like programming, and taking them for their duties. How a correction system needs to work is all those parts work together. It's not treatment versus custody. That's all part of the security approach. So when you pull one from the other, the reality is you don't have enough staff to meet the demands. So that means we have to use innovation, and there's no innovation without basic information. So yes, you absolutely need oversight. And oversight, clearly the Department of Justice believes in oversight because they oversee a bunch of states. It's called the Civil Rights Division. And you can go around the country and probably around this committee and look at examples of the Civil Rights Division getting involved in states and local systems, and smart leaders in those systems using that as a lever to force reform. And I talked in my written testimony about Chicago and Cook County, and using federal intervention as a lever to push reform and actually get out of federal oversight. So independent oversight, and it doesn't have to be some big bureaucracy. I know that's what we like down here, but it doesn't have to be a big bureaucracy. Just the very basic of real-time reporting of data. The fact that you can't right here very easily look across your system and see key measures right now today, what's going on, and compare and identify. I hope Director Peters has that information, because I don't know how you'd eat this elephant if you don't know where to start. So I think that an independent oversight is not only critical but needed. And frankly, you'll be having the same hearing a decade from now or 2 decades from now if we do things the same way. You know, you hear the Einstein quote, but the Einstein quote that's most relevant here is that problems can't be solved at the same level of thinking that they were created. Having hearing, I mean, there's clearly bipartisan concern and will to fix this. You're choosing the wrong tools. Independent oversight has to happen. It has to be the very beginning of this. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Wetzel. Mr. Fossey.
Good morning, Chairman Durman, Ranking Member Graf.